Open up the Giant app, Flex Rewards. Earn points online or in store. Save on meals and save on sides. Save even more with bonus buys. Oh, 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 it's the place to go. Oh, 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 it's the place to go. Savings, savings, all for you. On all your favorite holiday foods.
Giant is the place to go for saving big this holiday season.
And good evening. This is Mottek On Money. We're doing it live right here in the 5 o'clock hour in Los Angeles. Mottek On Money, 5 nights a week for you, live on the air right here. Rain or shine on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com, and your on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, all your favorite podcast platforms. And yes, on the socials, too, at Frank Mottek on X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. Well, here's that rainy day here in Southern California and on Wall Street, with stocks ending sharply lower today after this big rally we've seen, which sent the Dow to an all-time high and the S&P 500 just below its all-time high. The Dow coming in for a closing loss of nearly 500 points today. The S&P 500 slipped 70, and the NASDAQ down 225, down a deuce and a quarter. The Dow booking a fifth straight record closeout of a total of 9 consecutive days of gains yesterday, while the S&P 500 coming off its highest level seen since January of last year. The NASDAQ, like the Dow, had scored a 9th straight session of advances until today. Both the Dow and NASDAQ were on the way toward a 10th straight day of gains until the rally was interrupted. We heard today from Peter Cardillo, Chief Market Strategist for Spartan Capital Securities in New York, and appears some money came off the table after he talked about overbought market conditions. Investors also seem to be hesitant, according to MarketWatch, to react to the drop in Treasury yields, with the yield in the 10-year note back down to 3.87%. Mercifully, that impacts the fixed-rate mortgage rates, and they've come down from recent 23-year highs. On the economy tonight, we see existing home sales up 0.8% in November. According to the National Association of Realtors, the Consumer Confidence Index, meanwhile, rising to a 5-month high. This as the price of gas has come down, and as that happens, historically, we see a consumer confidence move higher. The chief executives of Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount Global reportedly met this week to talk about a potential merger, according to Axios, a move that would further consolidate an entertainment and streaming industry searching for stronger profitability. The two executives, David Zaslav at Warner and Bob Bakish at Paramount, reportedly met for several hours in Paramount's headquarters in Times Square and discussed ways their companies could complement one another, according to the Axios report. We're watching developments in the Middle East and the Red Sea. Now, several shippers have suspended shipments through the Red Sea after a series of drone and missile attacks by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. We continue to follow developments there. Also, if you bought an app on Google Play or made any in-app purchase between August of 2016 and September of 2023, you might be owed some money. Google agreeing to pay $700 million and make several other concessions to settle antitrust allegations that have been suppressing competition to its Android app store. What's really going on with this economy and government spending? What about California's eye-popping budget deficit these days, approaching nearly $70 billion? I'll discuss that later this hour with economist Chris Edwards at the Cato Institute. A gun shop owner in Beverly Hills now throwing his hat into the ring in the Beverly Hills City Council race. I'll talk guns, crime, and the whole works tonight with Russell Stewart, the owner of Beverly Hills Guns and Force Protection Agency. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, politics, geopolitics, and the whole works tonight. Joining us live now, the one and only Ben Stein for our occasional Frank and Stein conversation here. Ben Stein, financial and political commentator, attorney, economist, author of numerous books, including Inflation, Debt, and Disaster. TV game show host, too, Win Ben Stein's Money. Actor as well, famously playing the economics professor in the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off in one of the most famous scenes in American cinema. And he loves a rainy night, actual rain, which we're getting right now, and the song also by Eddie Rabbitt. Ben Stein, thank you very much for taking the call here tonight for our Frankenstein conversation.
It's my pleasure, of course.
Thank you very much. Hope you're out of the rain at this point and in a safe spot. Ben Stein, give us your view of the world here at the moment.
Well, the world is very screwed up, if I can put it so bluntly. We have a weird situation in which the Hamas, just generally a group of gangsters and thugs and killers, started a horrifying chain of events in the Middle East with the attack on perfectly, totally innocent young people at a peace rock and roll festival in the on the border between Israel and the Gaza, and there probably never has been a more innocent group of people attacked than this group of people attacked by Hamas, and they were attacked in a brutal, horrifying, nauseatingly cruel way, and something we've really never seen anything quite like this, except in the days of the Holocaust, and this was a heartbreaking event. It was essentially a continuation of the Holocaust by the Nazis, and amazingly, the large parts of the world are defending the killers, are defending the gangster murderer thugs, and it's just breathtakingly evil that these people are able to get away with it, so to speak. They're able to do this amazing murder. And what on earth is happening in the world when people do this kind of horrifying crime against humanity? And the United Nations stands up for them. The United Nations stands up for the killers and the warriors against the innocent. And this seems to be getting worse and worse. That the world, so to speak, sympathy, ever more to the killers and to the what shall I say? They're worse than gangsters. They're Nazi thugs.
Absolutely horrifying, and we're watching the situation play out there as Israel presses its attack on the terrorists there, and now we're watching what's happening in the Red Sea as well, with shipping companies now pulling back operations, also still in the dark, too, over this reported new international Navy coalition being assembled by the U.S. to fight those attacks in the Red Sea, with many vessels continuing to avoid the area or canceling trips altogether. Iranian-backed Houthi militants in Yemen have been stepping up attacks on vessels in the Red Sea. The administration hasn't really said much about this, and we're watching these attacks on other military installations, U.S. military installations in the Middle East. Ben Stein, what about what's happening there in the Red Sea and throughout the region at this point?
Well, what's happening is an astonishing display of cowardice and moral disgrace by the world's so-called great powers, who are bowing down and kissing the backsides of some of the dirtiest, filthiest people in the world, and why it is that the United States would be even considering being part of the coalition of the ass kissers, if pardon the crudeness of my speech. It is breathtaking. We have by far the most powerful Navy in the world. Why are we bending over and kissing the butt of these horrifying people? They're just horrifying. Where did they even come from, by the way? Houthi rebels or Houthi, however pronounced rebels. Why on earth do we even think for a second of kowtowing to these people?
And it looks like you're not alone in your thinking here. Voters, according to the latest New York Times Siena College poll, if you saw this, voters broadly disapproving of the way President Biden handling the strife between Israelis and Palestinians. And that brings us to the political question. We're seeing in that latest poll, former President Trump would defeat our current President Biden here. This, of course, coming after the Colorado Supreme Court ruling to remove former President Trump from the state's presidential primary ballot under the U.S. Constitution's insurrection clause. Looks like this case is going to be taken up by the... Give us your reaction to what's happening on the political front here now.
Insane. That is insane. I mean, I used to live in Colorado, and it's hippie central. It's where the absolutely dopiest people in the world hang out and hang their drug-addicted clothes on the nearest stick. I don't understand how this could be happening, but it is happening, and it's just yet another sign of the demolition of the legal system in the United States of America. Small wonder that investors are saying to themselves, wait a minute here, wait a minute. What is going on? We have lost the rule of law in the United States of America. The rule of law is largely what determines whether a country is a real country or is just a bunch of thugs. We seem to be, as of today, after several days, I'm happy to say, of reaching new highs in terms of respect for law. We seem to have reached a big, giant leap off a cliff into insane cruelty towards one another as human beings. What on earth are we thinking of? I mean, this is just, it's as if the United States of America were saying to the world, you know what, we made a mistake. We should have been on the Nazi side. Because who are these people, the Houthis and the people from Hamas? Who are they except but killers and thugs? I mean, that's what they are. And we're saying, fine, go for it. It's amazing.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also a time you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. And what's more, they like it. MediShare has double the member satisfaction rate compared to health insurance. Double. MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of more than 400,000 members. And here's the thing. If you join before December 30th and you mention the promo code SHARE, you'll get another 10% off all of 2024. That's 12 months of savings. So I'll give you the number here in a second, but call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 30th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 844-43-BIBLE. That's 844-43-BIBLE. 844-43-BIBLE.
Where leaders go, learning follows. At Harvard Business School, we offer in-person and virtual executive education programs on a broad range of business topics. This is where the brightest minds in business come together. Add your unique voice to an exceptional peer group. Come learn from others' diverse perspectives and from our world-class faculty. It's your time. Go. To apply, visit hbs.me/go. That's hbs.me/go.
By the way, we're doing something quite similar in Ukraine. We're doing something maybe even worse, which is to say we're going to the world and saying, yes. Go ahead, Russia. Go ahead. Murder the Ukrainians. Rape the women. Cut off their heads. Stab them till they're bleeding out, and then bury them alive. And this is America now. This is what we've turned to. It's breathtaking. It's incredible. We are assembling a coalition of people to fight against killers, thugs, gangsters. As I keep saying, why should that even be necessary? Why is it not just axiomatic, just as evident as anything can be, that we don't want to be part of a group that denies the existence of human decency and human dignity? We're not. This isn't America. America isn't a bunch of people kowtowing to gangsters and murderers. We're seeing a whole new there. I don't understand that. I really don't. I've never seen anything quite like it in the history of the United States, where we just absolutely ass-kissed the people who are trying to kill people like us.
You're live with the one and only Ben Stein for a Frankenstein conversation here. Now, getting back to this court ruling with the Colorado Supreme Court, first time in history the 14th Amendment has been used to disqualify a presidential candidate. And here we are, just less than a month to go before voting starts. And Donald Trump's Republican rivals are also rallying to his defense at this point. What do you think is going to happen if this does go to the Supreme Court, and how this is going to play out?
I don't think the Supreme Court can conceivably uphold that ruling in Colorado. I just don't see how it can happen. But, of course, I've been wrong in the past, and I could be wrong this time as well. But what are we thinking of saying to the world? A bunch of dopey hippies smoking their reefer at some mountaintop in the Rocky Mountains are going to decide what is the rule of law in America. What are they talking about? This isn't America. The real America is hiding somewhere. The real America is way, 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 way off in the distance. The real America is, we've passed it. It's gone. I mean, I hope it comes back. I think if Mr. Trump wins, it will come back. But just the idea that we would consider anything that Mr. Trump did, even the slightest bit of an insurrection, it's just incredible. There was no insurrection. I mean, are journalists, are politicians too lazy and stupid to even read the text of President Trump's speech that he gave to his fans and followers the day of the demonstration in front of the Capitol building? He never asked for anyone to do anything violent. He never asked for there to be any kind of insurrection. He asked for people to go up there and talk to their representatives and ask them to pull themselves together and find that in certain states there had been more votes against the President of the United States than there were people in that state to vote. But we simply sneered at arithmetic and said, no, arithmetic be damned. We are going to say we're going to vote with the gangsters and the thugs. And I keep saying those words, gangsters and thugs, because what we're seeing in America now, and it's heartbreaking, is the gangsters and thugs are running the country in large measure. And this is just terrifying.
Do we want appointed judges telling us who we can and can't vote for?
No, it's Frank, it's breathtaking. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what is going to become of America if we continue to let people who have no understanding of law, no understanding of history, make our decisions about how we are going to make judicial decisions in the United States of America. It's something horrifying has happened in America, and let's pray that we can get it back and get this back from these idiots in Colorado who made this decision to have a government by mobs and by drug addicts.
Well, in the meantime, it is the holiday season. We're just days away from Christmas and the New Year. And gosh, all year long they were talking about a recession that didn't arrive, and now new concerns about a recession maybe next year. What are some of your predictions as we head into the new year, Ben Stein?
There's nothing like an economic prediction or prognostication for sheer consistency of poor results. It's very, very, very useless to make economic prognostications, except we do know this. The country, the government, the Federal Reserve, that is to say, has been pumping out money at a breathtaking, mind-boggling rate, an astounding rate, and that would generally give us inflation, and it did give us very bad inflation, and it just sort of wore itself out. It was like a fireworks show that wore itself out. All the fireworks were used up. They made a lovely display in the atmosphere, and then it just sort of ran out of steam. And now I don't know what the next step will be in the atmosphere of fireworks, but it doesn't look as if we're very good at making economic predictions. We never have been, and that doesn't look like we're going to be. We are a great, wonderful country. I love this country beyond words. And I think probably every person listening to your show thinks the same thing. But let's not give ourselves the idea that a group of professors somewhere or commentators even in very well-known newspapers, and I say that my head tucks under my chin, so to speak, because I was a columnist for the New York Times making prognostications for a while, and I learned that the prognostications are pretty much worthless, and I'm not going to do much more except to say, save your money, don't spend it recklessly. Bear in mind that predictions about the economy have about as much value as the paper that they used to be printed on. Now I'm not sure what they are printed on, if anything.
To put it another way, you just reminded me of one of my favorite expressions. We have economists to make meteorologists look good. I've heard that. You've probably heard that as well.
Exactly. Well put. Or to make vegetables look good, or to make avocados look good. I mean, what are we doing here in America? We just, Americans, do your work, come home from work, watch TV or read a great book, sit with your wife and your children, or your husband and your children, and you go on and then get up and do your work the next day. After the First World War, someone asked President at that point it would have been Coolidge, what did he recommend for the future? And he said, work and save. And that was turned out to be very, very good advice. And it gives us great, wonderful, super country. And let's hope that it continues to be a great, wonderful, super country. But let's not think that we can predict the future with any kind of predictable regularity or success.
All right, we're going to put Ferris Bueller's Day Off on the holiday movie watching list now. Have you already taken the role today, Ben Stein?
Adams, Adamley, Adamowski, Bueller, and God bless America. Let's just skip right away to the G's and say, God bless America. We need all the help from the Lord God Almighty that we can possibly get. So let's ask for it. Let's not be shy. Dear God, we need your help.
We know it's you, Ben Stein. Thank you very much for taking the role and for joining us here. Frank and Stein, a conversation as needed. Look forward to many more in the new year, Ben. We wish you a wonderful holiday season, happy, healthy, and prosperous new year, and all the best to you. Thank you very much for taking the call here tonight.
You're my pal, and everybody out there on Radioland is my pal.
We love you, Ben. Thank you very much, and look forward to speaking with you again real soon. Hope to see you out there real soon. As soon as the rain stops, we'll get out there and do something nice. Well, folks like you and me have our ear to the ground in all things business. We like to be informed and well prepared, and as important as finance is, I want you to have a plan in case you're hit by someone not paying attention to the road. Thinking ahead serves us well, and even still, we can get caught off guard as people are so focused on their destination that they might not have a plan. They're in an accident that's not their fault. That's why I encourage you to put my friend Attorney Clark Fielding's number in your phone. That number is 833-88-SHARK. So if you're in an accident, you'll be ready with your strategy to make Clark Fielding your first call. Fielding Law aims for the highest possible settlements, considering you might need long-term care, rehab, compensation for lost wages, and any ongoing physical or emotional pain. So if you're hurt in any kind of accident, call for a free consultation with Fielding Law. You can trust them. They're honest, respected, and your strategy in case you get into that unexpected accident. Motorcycle, truck, pedestrian, scooter, hit-and-run, boating, or bike accidents, you name it. The number to call is 833-88-SHARK. That's 833-88-SHARK. Or go to clarkthesharklaw.com. Oh, there it is. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC on this rainy night. Rainy day here in Southern California as well as on Wall Street. The Dow down 476 points. Snapping that nice winning streak we saw up until today. We're back to 37,082 coming off the all-time high for the Dow with that sell-off today. The S&P 500 pulling back 70 at 46,000, make that 4,698, and the NASDAQ down 225 at 14,778. The yield in the 10-year note now 3.87%. Watching the price of oil slip a bit today, down 53 cents at $73.69 a barrel. Gold down $2 now at $2,045.70 an ounce. Bitcoin up 188 now at 43,585. Ethereum up 14 at 2,192, and Doge at 9 cents. We're seeing the price of oil today moving higher by 28 cents at $74.22 a barrel, pulling back now in after-hours trading. And shares of Warner Brothers Discovery down nearly 6%. Paramount Global stock down 2% on a report that the executives of both of those companies met to talk about a potential merger. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KABC. Good evening. A gun shop owner in Beverly Hills throwing his hat into the ring in the Beverly Hills City Council race. Let's talk guns, crime, and the whole works now with Russell Stewart, the owner of Beverly Hills Guns and Force Protection Agency. Russell Stewart, thank you very much for coming to the line here this evening.
Frank, it's great to be back with you.
Take it from the top and tell us about your big announcement here.
Well, yeah.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also a time you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. And what's more, they like it. MediShare has double the member satisfaction rate compared to health insurance. Double. MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of more than 400,000 members. And here's the thing. If you join before December 30th and you mention the promo code SHARE, you'll get another 10% off all of 2024. That's 12 months of savings. So I'll give you the number here in a second, but call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 30th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 844-43-BIBLE. That's 844-43-BIBLE. 844-43-BIBLE.
You loved Lala Kent on Vanderpump Rules. Now get to know her on Give Them Lala.
I don't know that I would call it respect that I have for Sandoval, but the world hated him. He still went out, performed shows with his head held high. He showed up to the reunion when we all were going after him. Like, he didn't skip a beat. The way he's handling it, if I were in his position, and I said it straight up to the entire audience, thousands of people, I would tell you all to and the room was dead.
Watch what Lala is talking about on YouTube or search for Give Them Lala wherever you listen.
You know, I threw my hat in the ring for Beverly Hills City Council, got in just, in the 11th hour, and just really needed to do this. You know, I've been thinking about it for years, but I just feel like now is my time. You know, public safety is the number one issue in the city of Beverly Hills. Public safety is my wheelhouse. You know, it's not my only, strength, but it's definitely the one that I'm leading with, and I'm looking forward to the city hearing my message and hopefully voting me in office.
Certainly already Beverly Hills has a great reputation under the current police chief, Chief Steinbrook, for doing a great job with the police response time, 2 minutes at the moment, and using technology and actually arresting people when crime is committed. What would you do to improve the situation there?
Well, I think, one of the number one things is also just focusing on the officers. We are definitely down dozens of officers that we need, with the subway train coming, the first one on La Cienega coming within 12 months, then the Rodeo Drive one coming within 2 years, plus we have the Olympics, plus we have the World Cup. We need more people. And the number one thing right now to gain more officers is to have a better working environment. We have people that are working a ton of overtime. We have scheduling issues where people are getting off at 6 p.m. on a Friday, but nobody can afford to live here. So they're driving to Simi Valley, Castaic, to Orange County. We need to have better housing programs and subsidized moderate housing so law enforcement and our first responders can afford to live in the city, better scheduling, higher pay, and just focusing on mental health. Morale is down across the board, and a healthier and more positive law enforcement agency is just going to be more hard charging. They're going to come to work every day, just more motivated, and to have top coverage down saying, hey guys, we care about you. We want you to be the highest paid. We want you to be able to live here or at least live closer by. So it just adds more value, and it just gives a better quality of life to officers and their families.
On the live with Russell Stewart, the owner of Beverly Hills Guns and Force Protection Agency. And Russell, being a business person and a business owner yourself, we've heard from a lot of business people on this program certainly expressing a lot of frustration about current leadership pretty much across the board these days. What finally motivated you to throw your hat into the ring and do this?
Well, I think being the owner of Beverly Hills Guns and Force Protection Agency, I've just been able to get such a unique perspective on the community. I've come to government from a different path. I haven't served on committees and boards and things of that nature, but I have had the ear of the community for almost 4 years now because of the pandemic and then the George Floyd riots, and then other things especially like October 7th, which has driven people to find defensive measures, especially like firearms, that I've been able to get such a unique perspective from these people of what they're afraid of, how that they can see the city go forward. And it's just such a unique insight to what everyone is feeling. And that is something that no other candidate has. So I truly believe that I have this inside knowledge of what people want. And I'm going to be bringing that to my campaign, which you can find at russellstewart.com to learn more. And I really believe that this is my time to be able to, come onto the council, make some positive change, especially for my daughter. It's her sixth birthday here today. So, Arabelle, I love you very much. And she's the future. So we need to get new leadership to drive this city into the future. So in 20 years from now, she can be proud of it too.
On there live with Russell Stewart, and tell us what you're hearing from the public out there, given all that's going on here. In the past, we've had conversations about getting guns for protection for people's homes and concealed weapons permits and all of that. What kind of demand are you seeing these days?
The uptick has been tremendous. I mean, obviously from the pandemic, which it went up. Then we saw the George Floyd riots. It went up. Now it's gone up even further with October 7th. People are scared. Yes, I believe that Chief Steinbrook has done a fantastic job. But in his leadership role, there's still room for improvement. My biggest issue right now is transparency. We've had multiple things that have happened in the city, and the transparency from the city and the police department of giving proper, timely information out to people to ease their fears and know that their law enforcement is out there doing the job that we're paying them for. I think that's the number one thing. Is there's so much fear because there's not enough information coming out about crime. It's not unique to Beverly Hills. It's everywhere, but we are a unique city, and we are a target because of our name, our wealth, and a lot of the people that live here. So transparency, communication, just give the people peace of mind that they know that their people are out there stopping these crimes and doing the best effort that they can.
Russell, thank you very much for taking the call. We wish you and your family all the best, and happy birthday to your daughter, who's probably listening right now. Russell Stewart, owner of Beverly Hills Guns and Force Protection Agency, now a candidate for city council member in Beverly Hills. Thank you very much. We wish you a great holiday season, and thanks very much for taking the call.
Thanks so much, Frank.
Thank you very much. We have some breaking news here now. Workers at a Wells Fargo bank branch in Albuquerque, New Mexico, have just voted to unionize today, marking the first such vote at a major U.S. bank. The workers who participated in the election voted 5-3 in favor of joining Wells Fargo Workers United, which is part of the Communications Workers of America. According to MarketWatch, in voting to unionize, the bankers and tellers at the Wells Fargo branch there joined a broader unionization push that has emerged at companies such as Starbucks and Amazon as workers seek more say at their jobs following more than 3 years of pandemic-related disruptions and rising prices. Again, to repeat, workers at a Wells Fargo branch in Albuquerque, New Mexico have just voted to unionize, the first such vote at a major American bank. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KBC. Good evening. California now facing a $68 billion budget deficit. That's big news as we head into 2024. Governor Newsom and fellow Democrats in the state legislature in Sacramento could face the state's biggest budget challenge in decades. California has been in a downturn since 2022, and we got some dark clouds out there, not only because of the storm, but on the financial front as well. What's really going on? Let's bring in the expert here on this subject, and that is economist Chris Edwards at the Cato Institute. Chris, thank you very much for taking the call. What do you see happening here in California?
Well, California's in a tough spot. To its credit, California has built up a big rainy day fund, which they're designed to help balance budgets when recessions happen. But the problem in California is that the tax system is so progressive, meaning it hits people at the top so heavily. It relies on the richest people so heavily that when the stock market's down or something like that, and capital gains tax receipts fall, the huge budget gap develops. Of course, all the increase in spending under Newsom hasn't helped, so there's a lot of cutting that needs to be done there in the California budget.
All right, you think that's going to happen, or is that budget deficit going to get worse in 2024?
Well, it's got to happen. The beauty of state governments, unlike the federal government, is states have to balance their budgets. And California will balance its budget one way or the other. Either it'll raise taxes, or it'll cut spending, or it'll use some of its rainy day funds. All of those, in a way, are responsible trade-offs that the politicians are forced to make at the state level. If they don't, their credit ratings of their bonds will fall, and they'll be big trouble. That contrasts with the federal government's able to run giant deficits year after year after year. And so, this is why I think a lot of, government spending at the state level, some states are worse run than others, like Illinois and California. However, at the end of the day, the states have to balance their budget, and it forces the politicians to be responsible.
All right. Not too many people are talking about that train to nowhere, which has been getting a lot of attention. That was supposed to go from San Francisco to Los Angeles, even though if you look at on a map, the route doesn't seem to be too close to both of those places. And then now this other Vegas to L.A. train getting some federal funding as well, and that's a new project that's getting a lot of attention. What about all these rail projects which start out with low numbers and then end up blowing up the budget?
The governments are infamous for massive cost overruns on projects. Governments say a project will cost $5 billion, it costs $10 billion. They say a project will cost $1 billion, it costs $2 or $3 billion. It's ridiculous. We see this decade after decade. The California high-speed rail project is one of the stupidest projects I've ever seen studying infrastructure for 20 years. California politicians ought to put an end to it now. The problem, though, is often it's the federal government. Because the federal government gave California billions to start that project, it induced the state to make a really bad decision. This is why Washington is the root of all evil in fiscal policy. Washington's subsidies induce states to make really dumb decisions. So you got the high-speed rail in California. Then many cities across America have built light rail urban transit systems. These are inherently more inefficient than bus systems, but politicians like them, and they get the federal money, so they start these boondoggle light rail systems. So this is why I think infrastructure and other activities ought to be decentralized out of Washington, because Washington induces the states to make these really bad decisions.
Why not just buy everybody a limousine here in Los Angeles, and it would probably cost the same amount of money as this train system?
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. Over $100 billion now. It's not surprising. High-speed rail, actually, everyone talks about the European and Japanese systems. There's only very few high-speed rail lines that make money. I think there's one or two in Japan that make money. But most of them in China and most of them in Europe actually lose a lot of money. High-speed rail is an elitist project. It doesn't help low-income folks get to their jobs or anything useful like that. It's elitist. They're actually not good for the environment because they mainly run half empty. So I think California policymakers ought to cancel that project right away.
What else is on your radar screen as we head into the new year?
Well, it's the federal government. The earlier this year, the House Republicans forced a deal on Congress to put caps on spending for a couple of years, but it looks like they're going to be blowing that now. They're going to probably pass a giant bill, more funding for Ukraine and other activities, and it won't be offset. It won't be offset. I mean, if they want to spend more on defense, okay, well that's fine, but they should offset it somewhere else in the federal budget. Unfortunately, the federal government debt now is at a historic high. We've never seen a higher debt as a share of our economy since the founding of the country 250 years ago. It's a crisis, and it's going to create a crash, and it's enormously irresponsible. We need to start cutting this federal government spending, it all ultimately all this. We borrowed $2 trillion this year, the federal government. All that money, all that is a burden that is going to land on young people in the future, and it's very sad and irresponsible.
All right, it looks like no deal on Ukraine funding as the folks leave for the holidays there in Washington. What about all of that important discussion about aid for Israel, Ukraine, and border security and so forth?
They'll eventually get a deal. And look, if that's the priority, then okay, then they should do it. It's probably going to cost $100 billion or something like that. But we can't afford to spend additional money. If they're going to do that, they need to offset it elsewhere in the budget. They need to trim, something like healthcare spending or Social Security spending or something that they have to prioritize. And that's the problem with the federal government is they don't prioritize. All these crises come along. There's more spending. Unlike at the state, government level, again, we go back to California, big deficit there now, $68 billion. They're going to be forced to deal with that. The Democrats who control the legislature and the governor's mansion, they'll be forced to deal with it. They like spending, but they're going to be forced to deal with that deficit. Unfortunately, that is not true in Washington because they seem to be able to borrow endlessly.
Chris, thank you very much for taking the call here as we wind down 2023. Look forward to many more conversations with you in the new year. We wish you and everybody there all the best for the holidays and for 2024. Economist Chris Edwards at the Cato Institute, thank you very much for taking the call here tonight. Thank you very much, Chris. Recapping the day on Wall Street, pullback following that big record-shattering rally. The Dow down nearly 500 points today, in case you haven't heard, down 476, back to 37,082. The S&P 500 down 70 at 4,698, and the NASDAQ down 225 at 14,778, and the yield in the 10-year note now at 3.87%. Taking a look at the price of oil, it's been bouncing around today following the latest developments in the Middle East as well as in the Red Sea, with attacks continuing on shipping in the region. Oil right now hovering just below $74 a barrel, gold at $2,047. I'll be back again tomorrow evening in the 5 o'clock hour. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz with our Legal Eagle Royal Oaks. That's coming up for you straight ahead here on 790 KBC.
For the real story behind some of wrestling's biggest moments, it's Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson, too.
1995, when WCW announces they're going to be live and head-to-head with Monday Night Raw, feels like this would have been something Vince would have kind of laughed off.
No, we did not like them moving to Monday nights. There were a lot of hotels. They all carried CNN, TBS, and TNT. Vince was convinced that Ted Turner had deviously done this deal to get in the hotels and keep us out.
Something to Wrestle, wherever you listen.